I'm ready. I know that you're ready. And I know that he's ready. Okay, but what do we have to do? We have to hear the music. We'll see you in a second. Welcome to the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. This is the Coffee Break Show. I'm Vicki Helm. This is brought to you by Metadigm Digital Network. Now, all week long, we have been talking about transformation. And today, I have somebody on that is going to rock your world. We're going to have the most powerful conversation about physical transformation. If you guys have not heard of Vince Rountree, today we're going to go deep and you're going to want to connect with him. And I met Vince like 2 years ago, maybe 3, at a 2CCX event. And he is one of those people you can become fast friends with, but his story is so compelling. It's so powerful. I was like, okay, I wanted to do my introduction of him, but I definitely want him to share a story about physical transformation, how it's so important. And today is going to be one of the most powerful transformation days we can have. First off, I just want to say, Vince, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming on the show. So happy to see you.
Vicki, thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. Yeah, it's been so long since we've had the opportunity to talk. And when we did meet, I want to say that may have been 2018, I want to say.
Yeah.
And we did have some really, really good conversation. And I'm so happy to be back with you again.
Thank you. I want to say I see people coming on. Hey, Peter, look, I got Vince with us today. I'm very excited. Thank you for being on. Sean Olson, nice to see you coming on. Great to be here with you all today. Thank you. Thank you for this. Welcome, Vince. So great to see you. What is this? I am so excited to hear this conversation. Your timing is super, just what I wanted to learn. We're going to go deep into that too. And he's got a challenge we're going to be talking about and everything else. Awesome. Let's see. So great to see you. And Sean and Peter, nice to be with you. So here's the thing. Before we get started into the nuts and bolts of things, Vince, I just want you to share your story. I know we talked about it years ago in 2018 or whatever it was, but I want to hear your story because I think this is the thing that pulls me the most.
Yeah. So in 2011, I went in for a regular physical and the doctor told me I had high cholesterol and high blood pressure. And the blood pressure was not high enough to need medication yet, but the cholesterol was. So the doctor wrote me a prescription, told me to start taking these pills, and that just really didn't set right with me. And I asked my doctor, is there anything that I can do other than take these pills? And his response to me is that this runs in your family. And he was absolutely right about that. But then he said, so as a result, there's not much you can do about it.
Wow.
And I could not accept that. I felt deep within me that there was something that I could do. I felt like probably if I eat differently, my body would respond different to the cholesterol. And I didn't know what it was. And I was, I didn't care. You know, my undergraduate degree is in chemical engineering. And I wanted data. I wanted facts. I didn't want, you know, there's so many, you know, cover of Time magazine and, you know, cover of People magazine. And there's all of these fantastical stories of what diet can do. And this is the latest diet to reduce your cholesterol. And this is the latest. I didn't want that. I wanted facts. And I found a doctor who gave a TED talk named Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. And this guy, he started his lecture with this quote. And I'll never forget it. He said, coronary artery disease is nothing but a toothless paper tiger. If it exists, it does not need to progress, for it is a food-borne illness.
What?
And I literally stopped and moved the scrub bar to the beginning. And he said, coronary artery disease is a food-borne illness. It's the number one cause of death in this country, right? I mean, there's 600,000 people that die a year of heart disease. And he's telling me it's caused by the food. So I was riveted to this, to this speech. And he talked about this primary research that he did where he took people with severe heart disease. Some of them had open heart surgeries. They had heart attacks. They had stents. They had strokes. I mean, they were really in bad shape. And he put them on plant-based nutrition, fruits, vegetables, beans, lentils, split peas, whole grains, brown rice and oatmeal and potatoes, stuff that's grown from the ground. And he put them on that, and literally everyone that he put on that regimen got better. I said, I had to try it. I didn't know what would happen. I loved bacon and eggs, and I love chicken, just like so many of us do. I loved ribs, but I had to try this for myself and just see what happened. I didn't know what was going to happen, but as an engineer, I didn't want to contaminate my own experiment. So I went 100%. You couldn't get me to have one bite of ice cream or one morsel of cheese because I wanted to see what happened. And if I had one little bit, then I would always have in the back of my mind, yeah, but you had a little bit. No, I went 100%. And in 6 weeks, my total cholesterol went from 240 to 132.
Whoa, that's huge.
Over 100 points in 6 weeks.
My hair stood up. My hair stood up when you said that.
I was blown away. My blood pressure dropped 30 points. It went down to like 112 over like 72, 73, something like that. And I lost 20 pounds. I wasn't trying to lose weight. I lost 20 pounds. And that started a chain reaction that got me to doing what I'm doing today. Because what really bothers me, Vicky, and what really motivates me is literally the single best tool for your overall health is the food that you eat. And doctors don't get trained on how do you use food to reverse chronic illness. They know how to prescribe pills. They know how to say, eat healthy, but they don't get trained on how do you best use food to lower blood pressure, to lower cholesterol, to reverse diabetes, to stop GERD and acid reflux disease, to treat cancer. The most effective tool that there is are lifestyle changes. What I've come to learn is literally 80% of our healthcare spend is based on things that we can do in our lifestyle, like eat plant-based, like get plenty of rest, like get plenty of exercise, like having loving connections in our life, not abusing substance abuse. These are things that you can control. And unfortunately, these are the things that doctors do not get trained on in mass. Now, there is an organization called the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, ACLM, and they actually certify physicians in lifestyle medicine. If you find an American College of Lifestyle Medicine, an ACLM certified physician, they then are certified in what we call the 6 pillars of lifestyle that promote health.
This is so interesting what you're saying. You've said a couple of things already for me that have been spot on for me. First off, my family has the history of high blood pressure. And I remember when my blood pressure just started notching up a bit. And I was like, there is no way I'm going to be glued to taking a pill every day. There's just no way I'm going to do that. Not an injection every day, not a pill every day. And that sudden determination to turn around based on healthy food, second thing. And where in my house, I have an occupational therapist with a big medical background that is like, we eat plant-based and we eat a lot of plant. And I'm like you, I love chicken. I love all of that and etc. But it's like about 60-40, 70-30, somewhere around that. And I want to talk about aging, and these happen because this is when those things happen. You start getting high cholesterol after your 20s, and you've been eating burgers and burgers and burgers and burgers and burgers and fries and shakes. And suddenly you're like, where's my arteries? And we think at some age that there's no way to reverse this. We think like after 40, I'm probably going to have open heart surgery. What do I do? What's the truth about that? Tell us the truth about that. And you guys, I see you doing this. I need to pop over here. It's such a vague prescription, eat healthy. What does that actually mean for us, customized to our own issues?
Yes.
The American College of Lifestyle Medicine, ACLM certified.
Yes.
Let's see, you are speaking my language. Yes, of course he is. Sean says, controlling your choices of what you eat and how you move are very simple steps to master your health. Yes. But let's talk about health and aging, because there's this misnomer that you're supposed to fall apart as you get older. And I hear that that is not true.
So there's two things going on there. As we get older, so here's the way I like to describe it. Preserving of the species just needs to get us to 40 years old. Preserving of the species wants to get you old enough to have offspring and then raise that offspring to the age where they have offspring. So, we reach puberty and age where we can reproduce somewhere between mid-teens and 20 years old. I'm not talking social, I'm just talking about biological, right? Mm-hmm. So by the time you're 20, for sure, you are at an age where you can reproduce. And if you start that at 20, then by the time you reach 40, now you have raised that offspring to the age where they can reproduce. After that, you're out of warranty, baby. Evolution don't care about you anymore because you have lived long enough in order to reproduce and raise your offspring to the age where they can reproduce. And so until the age of mid-30s and 40s, you can almost do anything. You're indestructible. You can eat what you want to. You don't have to sleep. You can drink day in and day out. You don't need sleep. You can literally do whatever you want. And the body's like, we got to keep you around. We got to keep you around because you need to promote the species. And so that's typically what happens, until you get to 40. Now, does it mean that we have to fall apart after 40? No. Oh my goodness. No. If we eat unprocessed plant-based foods, if we get plenty of sleep, if we get plenty of exercise, if we have loving and nurturing relationships, if we don't abuse substances, alcohol and drugs and cigarettes, we can live. I know there's a lady who at age 97 had type 2 diabetes, moved in with her daughter and son-in-law. 97. She had type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. She moved in with her in-laws. They were 100% plant-based. She started eating like them. And at 97, she came off her medication.
Whoa.
Now, when people tell me, can this happen at any age? I say, if it can happen for a 97-year-old woman, it can happen for you. Not only is the body's got a remarkable ability to heal itself. Yes. The body's got a remarkable ability to grow muscle. What typically happens to most of us is we get pulled in to this sedentary lifestyle, to this really good food, to this high fat, high sugar, high salt food. It tastes so good. You don't have to move. You got a refrigerator probably 10, 20 feet away from you. You probably got Publix. Like, food is plentiful. And we don't, and we are naturally lazy, right? So you've got to actively do something to participate in your health. And when you do, the body will reward you. I can tell you, I've had clients, and I love talking about my clients. I got a client who's 65 years old. This guy had a heart attack. He had blood pressure through the roof. He's probably 150 pounds overweight. He started working with me in July of last year. Today, he has lost 110 pounds. His blood pressure has dropped like a rock. He's off a bunch of his diabetes medication. Not all of them yet, but we know that's coming. His cholesterol has dropped. His blood pressure has dropped. His blood glucose has dropped, and he's lost 100 pounds. He's lost 110 pounds, and he's so happy. He told us that when he started, he was literally at home waiting to die because the doctors basically did everything they could. Doctors just writing prescriptions. Here's the problem. That doesn't do anything to treat the cause. You see, right. If the cause is bad food, lack of exercise, lack of sleep, if that's the cause, tell me what medication is going to do.
Yeah.
At best, it's palliative. At best, it's just going to take care of the outer symptoms, maybe make you feel better, but it doesn't treat the cause. When you eat more eat plenty of fruits, eat plenty of vegetables, eat plenty of beans, lentils, split peas, chickpeas, potatoes, brown rice, oatmeal. When you eat unprocessed plant-based foods, you get rest, you do some exercise, the body says, thank you. The body has remarkable healing properties, but it will only heal itself if you give it the proper environment of the right food, the right rest, the right exercise.
They're happy about this. Hashtag preach. That's right. So I got a couple of questions because I want to go because the thing is, you're a nutritional expert, and that's the thing that's really important for me right now, because I know that there are people yelling keto, 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 and there are people yelling plant-based, plant-based, plant-based. And to me, what's the difference? I know that in your process, the carbohydrates you eat are whole food. I know that piece of it. But what would you say to the person, and to me, over 40 is a big deal. Yeah. The 50, the 65, the 97-year-old that can drop herself off that medication. There's something very specific about plant-based versus keto. And I'm wondering, can you give us a little more education or say more about the two and the difference? And why is it that you are supportive of that plant-based?
Yeah, thank you for giving me that opportunity, Vicki. The first thing that I would say about ketosis, there's a couple of things. First is there are no long-term studies that show its effectiveness. There are no, show me the 20-year, the 30-year, the 40-year, the 50-year study that this is the healthiest diet to eat. I can show you from the plant-based side. All you got to do is pick up the book called The Blue Zones by Dan Buettner. He was charged by National Geographic to find the 5 regions in the world where people live the longest. He lived in each region for a period of time, found 9 things they have in common, and then he wrote about it in The Blue Zones. With regards to food, they were either 100% plant-based or 90% plant-based. If they had meat, and some of them weren't 100%, but if they had meat, it was usually ceremonial. Maybe it was like on a Sunday, maybe once a week, but everything else was plant-based. Okay, so we and the blue zones are the areas of the world that have the highest concentration of people that live to be 100.
Centenarians.
Yes. So we know that there are long-term studies that fascinating. Show the longest living people in the world are plant-based. Number 2, I mentioned the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. Mm-hmm. This is an organization that trains physicians how to incorporate plant-based nutrition into their healthcare practice. Show me an organization that is training thousands of doctors how to incorporate ketosis into their lifestyle because it is reversing heart disease, because it is getting people off of blood pressure. It doesn't exist because they don't have the data to back it up. There is an organization called the American College of Cardiology. And one of the past presidents is Dr. Kim Williams. Kim Williams made a statement that all cardiologists are either plant-based or they haven't seen the data yet.
Interesting.
And this guy was the past president of the American College of Cardiology. Now, what is that group? It's like 50,000 members. If you want to be a cardiologist, then you need to be a fellow of the American College of Cardiology. And this president said, there's only 2 types of cardiologists, plant-based and those that have not yet seen the data, because the data is overwhelming. And we don't have that data yet on ketosis. Now, what ketosis does do is give you short-term results. You will lose weight. You will lose weight. If you have diabetes, your glucose level will drop. Why? Because if you don't take in any carbohydrates, then you will have lower glucose levels in your blood. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't fix the problem. Let's talk about the cause of type 2 diabetes. You see, if you eat a banana and your glucose spikes up, it's only natural to think, stop eating that banana. That's the cause. But that's not the whole story. The question is, why did your glucose spike and somebody else's didn't?
Interesting.
Oh, you see, that banana wasn't the cause of your diabetes. That banana revealed that your body doesn't process glucose properly. You see, glucose is the body's preferred fuel source. Glucose is the only fuel source for your brain. So you are supposed to eat unrefined carbohydrates, and that that carbohydrates converts into glucose. It's supposed to go in your bloodstream. When it does, the pancreas makes insulin. Insulin's job is to open cell doors and allow glucose to get in the muscle. You see, glucose is the preferred fuel source for your muscles. The mitochondria burns glucose, but the only way it can burn the glucose is if it's able to get from the bloodstream into the muscle cell. And when you have type 2 diabetes, that can't happen. Now, if you go ketosis, you just don't eat any carbs, the glucose still is not getting in the muscle cell. You just aren't eating any carbs. So you don't know how bad the problem really is. You haven't fixed the problem. The problem is getting glucose from the bloodstream, like getting gas from the gas tank into the engine, right? Imagine the muscle cells is like the engine, and the mitochondria is what burns that glucose. Well, you got to get the gasoline from your bloodstream into the muscle cell. And when you have type 2 diabetes, that can't happen. Now, why can't that happen? Because when we eat the standard American diet full of chicken, cheese, fish, meat, pork, dairy, eggs, those foods are loaded with saturated fat. That saturated fat gets in the muscle cell. Now, when the glucose level increases and your pancreas makes insulin that's trying to open the door to bring glucose into the muscle cell, the muscle cell says, I'm full. I got all this saturated fat. I don't need any glucose. I got saturated fat in here. And the saturated fat impairs the signaling of the cells to the glucose. And as a result, glucose can't get into the muscle cell. So it keeps building up in the bloodstream. So you eat that banana, your glucose level jumps up, and you say, oh my God, I got to stop eating the bananas. And you don't think in terms of, well, why did my glucose jump up? So what we recommend long-term is if you stop eating fish, cheese, dairy, meat, chicken, eggs, when you stop eating those foods with saturated fat, and all animal foods have saturated fat, when you stop eating those foods with saturated fat, then the saturated fat in your muscle cells have the opportunity to drain out. Once they drain out, now glucose can get in. And I have had the pleasure of seeing clients that were giving themselves insulin injections every day, with the doctor saying, once a diabetic, always a diabetic. Today, no insulin, no metformin, no medication, and glucose levels perfectly under control. Wow. That's what can happen with plant-based nutrition.
I want to talk this difference because I think it's so important what you just said. It is absolutely mind-blowing, the data that you just gave us. And one of the things that is there, and I don't know whether you're listening, if you're in the car, you don't have to stop and take notes. You can hashtag replay. This is still going to be out there, that you can go ahead and do this. But diabetes is so big in the world. And I want to continue to talk about this because right now, what I'm hearing is if you're on medication, you're there by choice or you're there because of lack of knowledge. Because what I'm hearing is that this is reversible by your own hands. You don't even need by your own hands. So first off, and I want to say this right here because Peter, you put up this and it was really cool. On my mother's side in Northern Greece, relative lived over 100 years on the Mediterranean lifestyle diet. So I want to go back to the plant-based thing because as a typical meat eater, I'm just going to cop to it right now, meat at every meal. Yep. I want to go and say that my spouse dedicated plant-based over 30 years, incredible health. And I want to talk about the lie that I think is a lie that I learned from them, that if you do not have meat, you don't have protein on a plant-based diet. You know, that thing that's like, well, where do you get your protein if you don't have eggs or fish or chicken or whatever? Tell us a little bit about that lie. What's a typical day of food? What are big protein gains? And how, if you're a diabetic and you're listening to this, I want to make sure that you can be in contact with Vince and talk to him, and if you're over 40, especially him, so that you can, get your health back where you want it to be and transform into that body and health that you want. So typical day, foods and things like that, and the protein lie.
Okay, so two things. What do I normally eat? And let's deal with the protein issue. I guess let's deal with the protein issue first, because it is so funny. When I ask most meat eaters where they get their protein from, they say, oh, I get it from beef, and I get it from chicken, and I get it from turkeys. And I say, okay, I understand that. What do cows eat? What do chickens eat? What do turkeys eat? Do they eat meat?
No.
Where do they get their protein from? If you think that the protein source from the meat is so special, then why don't they eat meat? Yet you're getting your protein from them. What you're really doing is getting secondhand protein with all the saturated fat, because they get theirs from the plants. Mm-hmm. You see, we really don't need much protein. It is a myth. One of the first things that I do with my clients is get them off these protein powders. You don't need it. You don't need it. Have you ever heard of anybody that is deficient in protein? Versus, have you ever heard of anybody that had heart disease, anybody that's got diabetes, anybody that's had high blood pressure? All of these people they eat too much protein. Protein is not an issue. You look at the strongest land mammals on the planet. The rhinoceros, the giraffe, the elephant, the 800-pound gorilla. These animals get plenty of protein. I mean, you see these big gorillas needing protein powder to drink down to get the muscles? It's literally ridiculous. We totally do not need to eat protein, but it's something that has been instilled upon us generation after generation.
That food pyramid.
That's right. So we naturally want to believe it. Something else to think about is, when do you think you need the most protein throughout the development of your life? When you're a newborn baby, because your weight is doubling like every 9 months to a year, right? So you're growing like crazy. What does nature intend on you to eat during that time? Mother's breast milk. What percentage of protein is mother's breast milk? About 8%. And we're thinking we got to consume all this protein. Well, you need it the most when a baby is developing. Their bones are developing. Their brain is developing. Their muscles are developing. Their tendons, everything in that body is developing. And so that's when you really need the most protein. We only have 8%. If you look at the protein content in every mammal, as in our species, we literally have the lowest. We literally have the lowest. No, we don't need all of this excess protein. Matter of fact, only plants are capable of producing protein. Why do I say that? Because, the air that we breathe is 79% nitrogen, only 21% oxygen. And it is that nitrogen in the air that a plant can take along and create photosynthesis with the light from the sun and from water and carbon dioxide. And the plant can take that and produce amino acids. Amino acids, the building blocks for protein. Plants make it. Plants make it. Yes, you want to get the best protein possible, eat beans, eat greens, eat broccoli, eat lentils, and you literally get all the protein. Protein is absolutely a non-issue. We believe it's an issue because we've been brainwashed to thinking it, but it is absolutely not an issue. Not even for athletes, because what I hear all the time is, yeah, but what about bodybuilders? What about strength athletes that, weightlifters? And there's a documentary called The Game Changers that has done a fantastic job of dispelling that myth. They look at MMA fighters, boxers, football players, strongest man in the world, athletes, Olympic weightlifters. Every one of them said that their performance got better when they went plant-based because inflammation went down. When inflammation goes down, your muscle soreness goes down. When your muscle soreness goes down, you can work out more frequently without the muscle soreness. So most athletes, their performance improves when they go plant-based. So they can get plenty of now, if you're lifting a lot of weights, if you're running marathons, what you really need are more calories. So if you get those calories from beans, if you get those calories from greens, if you get those calories from brown rice, you're getting more protein. It comes in the form of the calories in the unprocessed plant-based foods. So amazing. Protein is absolutely not an issue. Now, what do I normally eat? I am a creature of habit, almost to a fault. Almost every day I eat an entire cantaloupe. I love melons. And I love in the morning, I eat either a whole cantaloupe or a whole honeydew melon or like half of a watermelon. I love melons. And I normally will eat a melon and water until about noon. And then noon, I make a humongous pot of oatmeal that is full of berries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, mixed berries, bananas. I put some seeds in there. I go with flaxseed, chia seed, hemp seed, and throw some cinnamon. And it's literally a big pot. My girlfriend calls it the vat. She's like, you're eating your vat.
That's exactly how we make oatmeal here. We put the oatmeal. I add quinoa. Well, I shouldn't say I would say Robin adds quinoa. We put the chia seeds in there and then all the dried fruit that goes in there that makes it really yummy. And,
yes.
And that is exactly. Yeah. And then the cinnamon and kind of the nutmeg spices that go in it. Oh, I love that.
Yes. So that's every day. So I'll have the melon until around noon or 1. Then I have my big pot of oatmeal. Then if I want to snack, normally a couple of, maybe a baked sweet potato, maybe some nuts and dates, a lot of times baked sweet potato. And then my dinner is normally some type of beans and greens. I like having beans and greens every day. So it could be black beans, corn with salsa, with greens. I normally cut up a tomato or and an onion and garlic and put in there. And I love that meal. Or I'll do garbanzo beans with greens. And I'll put an avocado, tomato, and onion and garlic in there, mix that up and add some relish, add some olives and plenty of greens. I have those meals a lot. That's typically, and it's funny because that's just what I eat all the time. And I have shown that eating that way, I can put on muscle because I've done it. I didn't change the way that I eat. I just went to the gym frequently and I watched myself put on 7 pounds of muscle eating the same thing. Now I was hungry more frequently, so I had to eat more, but the quality of food stayed the same. I didn't have the protein powders. I didn't have all of these pills, supplements. That's a farce. I don't believe you need any of that. Now there may be some people that go against me on that, but I just don't think you need that. I think you need unprocessed plant-based foods and plenty of exercise, drink plenty of water, get plenty of rest, and the body will take care of itself. So that's kind of what I eat, and that's kind of the protein story.
It's interesting while you're talking about this, because I'm thinking about my daily habit, my daily habits. And, in the morning, we get green drinks. We, juice, and you put an apple and the kale and everything through the juicer. And also, I'm a big fan of moringa, and I have organic dried moringa that you can put in there, all those things that are supplementary. And I'm learning as I make the transition from being meat-based to plant-based, because, Robin is like, plant-based everything. I'm all about it. And it appears as though the world is actually understanding more. They're learning more about the plant-based. Last week, we had somebody who's coming out with their first slow cooker plant-based cooking cookbook. And wow. She said what was interesting, because you said it today as well. She said doctors are they're only told they only have to take one nutrition class, just one. And that one class doesn't even begin to cover anything, et cetera, about nutrition. And we have a tendency to think, and this is the thing I want to get across right now. We have a tendency to think that our doctor is know all be all, and that a nutritionist, well, they're not quite where a doctor is because they can't cut us open and take a look inside. But the truth is, the first base of health is a nutritionist, the first base. So what I want to know, like when somebody comes to you as a client, do you do an evaluation? What do you do to begin the nutrition process other than, look at them and go, okay, what do you take them through? How does that go when they work with you?
Yeah, the first thing that I do is I want to know what are all of the health concerns that they're dealing with. Mm-hmm. I want to know what you're dealing with, and I want the client to understand the trajectory that they're on. Mm-hmm. If you keep eating like you have been eating, what do you think your life is going to be like 10 years from now? Mm-hmm. Because most of us don't think that way, right? And so if you have high blood pressure, if you have diabetes, if you have high cholesterol, then I want you to really think about what is the trajectory that your health is on, and where are you going to be 10 years from now? Whew, if gosh. You don't make any changes. Then I want your 10-year in the future self to have a conversation with you today. We know type 2 diabetes. We know diabetes is the leading cause of limb amputation, leading cause of kidney failure, leading cause of blindness, and severe elevated risk of stroke and heart attack. Those are the facts. And that's what happens if you follow the doctor's recommendations. If you do what the doctor
eventually says, that's right.
That's following the best doctor's advice. Number one cause of limb amputation, number one cause of blindness, number one cause of kidney failure, elevated risk of stroke, elevated risk of heart attack. Those are the facts if you go by the doctor's recommendations. And I want you 10 years in the future, when you may be dealing with these, to look back at the opportunity that you had to change today.
Yeah.
And I want you to have that conversation. And I want you to think about that. I want you to feel that. I want you to understand what you're doing to your body. And then I want you to understand we're at a fork in the road. We can make a change.
That's right.
We don't have to follow that path of just letting our body deteriorate. Give yourself a chance. What is the downside of eating fruits, vegetables, beans, brown rice, lentils, potatoes? What's the downside? What are the side effects of eating more beans and potatoes? There's literally no downside to it. So let's try it for 30 days and just watch what happens. And in that 30 days, I promise you, if you do what I recommend, you are going to lose weight. You are going to lower your blood pressure. You are going to lower your cholesterol. It never doesn't happen. I don't know the degree to which it'll happen. I can't promise you that you'll get off your meds. I can't promise that. Because some people's bodies respond quicker, some people's bodies respond slower. I don't know how quickly your body will respond. What I do know is that you will improve, because it's these actions that cause the problem. And so if we take away the cause, now the body's got a chance of healing itself.
That's the beauty of it right there. Brandon Bays, who wrote the book, The Journey, she has kind of a quote, a statement she makes in her book that I really like, that you just kind of alluded to. She said, if you take one step towards your body takes 1,000 steps towards you. It wants to be your friend. It wants to heal you. It wants you to have all of the things that you're talking about. And, it's these simple little adjustments that we're making right now, these simple little transitions that we're making right now that help us feel better, be more alive, have better quality of life. And I don't know where you're listening from. I do know if you're listening and you're driving and you're listening to Vince and you're like, yes, I really want to have this. I really want to do this. The very first thing I want to tell you is your diagnosis isn't permanent. It can be adjusted or made. If you have diabetes right now and you're like, well, I'm at 2 shots. I have to take a shot every day before my meal. I have to take a shot. you can go ahead and learn something new. What if there was something else available that would help you even lower it down to one shot or a pill or something where you're not? What if there was some way to be able to change that? And this way is via nutrition. It's just a simple way. And this is so important to me. You have no idea. Today, changing our current comfort level is always the downside to change. Progress always starts uncomfortable, but becomes our new comfort zone very quickly. Commit for a long enough to get comfortable with the new way. Thank you very much, Sean. And for some of those people, I want to tell you something. Exercise isn't always having to go to the gym. If you're like incredibly overweight and it hurts to walk, get on a bicycle. There are so many things that you can do that don't hurt. You can adjust your exercise in such a way that if you have bad knees and you're like, oh God, jogging hurts or walking hurts on my bad knees, you can get on that, even a recumbent bike, a stationary bike. I had a knee issue before that was healing. This is how I got into biking, and I cycle at least 2 hours a day. I love it. But I like to get on the bike and be outside and play. That's, to me, I'm like, give yourself permission to go outside and play. And I've been working with Sean Olson, actually. He's my fitness guru. He's got me doing squats and all these crunchies and things like that and drinking more water. I have to ask you, today when I was talking to you, I have one vice. I have my vice, and it's coffee. I love coffee every single morning. But in my coffee, I do not do sugar. I never have. I don't like sugar in my coffee. It tastes terrible that way. But I like cream or milk in my coffee. And I was like listening to you, and I was like, cheese, I can let go of cheese. I could let go of ice cream. I could let go of, and then it came to the milk. I was like, the milk in my coffee. And I've tried almond milk. I've tried coconut milk. I've tried all the other milks. And I'm like, well, is there a possibility in your plant-based life? Is there room for a little bit of splurge? And at Thanksgiving, when they make that pumpkin and sweet potato pie, I mean, is there a point where if you eat plant-based and maybe you have a slice of pie, is there any room for that, or is it so strict that there's no playing in there? Tell me more about that.
Great question, Vicki.
Hashtag coffee.
Yeah. The answer is, the data shows that if you are between 90 to 100% plant-based, it's as good as being 100% plant-based for most people. I say for most people. There may be some exceptions. But I talked about the blue zones where there's the highest concentration of centenarians, people over 100. And many of them will have meat maybe once a week or for ceremonies or maybe on Sundays. So if you have a small amount of animal products, the odds are you will be fine. Odds are you will be fine. My suggestion to you is, or my concern is, knowing your weakness. Now, and don't feed it. So when I made the change, I know that my weakness is bacon and eggs. I love bacon and eggs. I loved it at IHOP. I loved it at Cracker Barrel. I loved it at Waffle House. I love making my own. I just love bacon and eggs. And I ate it probably 4 or 5 times a week. Love bacon and eggs. And I loved it so much that when I made the change, I never, ever allowed myself to have it because I don't want it once.
I see.
I want it all the time.
It's like a cigarette.
So it's like cigarettes. It's like an alcoholic. For an alcoholic, don't give him just one drink, because now that reminds the brain of how much you love that. Mm-hmm. Now you want more and more and more. So that is my concern. And so one of the reasons why I like to tell people my recommendation is 100%, because you don't fall into that slippery slope. As soon as you say, well, I can just have X, fill in the blank. Then, well, I had this, and our brains are capable of talking us out of anything. Yeah. So be careful of that. With regards to coffee, I would experiment with a bunch of different plant-based creamers. Now, the odds are you're putting a small percentage of cream in there. If that's your only animal-based product, you're probably going to be fine. But why not experiment with some, not just almond milk, but almond milk-based creamers or cashew milk-based creamers? Because there are creamers that are based on plant-based that you can try. You may find a bunch that you don't like, but you may find that one you're like, this isn't bad. Now you're completely off of it. And
well, if that happened, I would do it, because that being off it, because when you were talking, I was like, I started drinking coffee regularly every day at 15 or 16 years old. And that little bit of cream, little bit of cream, little bit of cream, little bit of cream, that whole thing up there. I get to the point where if I found a plant-based creamer that was really good, heartbeat, I'd be off that.
Yeah. Yeah, there are quite a few plant-based creamers in the marketplace today. There's probably dozens of them.
We're going to have to go try a few out and see how it goes there.
Yeah.
I want to pop over here. Sean is talking. He's saying your health is the result of what you do most of the time.
Exactly.
Those small moments of weakness won't have a big enough impact to outweigh the good stuff. Thank you very much. That means a lot to me. So if
right.
you make it okay right now, then right now can be replicated frequently. Yes. I think for me, one of the things that I've been doing is transitioning into more plant-based foods. So I would not say I'm 90% yet. I would say I'm like, 60-40, somewhere around there, sometimes 70-30. Like in the summer when the garden is just booming and we have all that great organic stuff, we eat way more vegetables, and I love that. They're fresh and, farm to table. But I think what I've learned today that is so important for everybody is that there is a point where they lie to you and tell you that you need a physician to be healthy. When you can command your own wellness. Now, I'm not saying excommunicate your doctor. That's not what we're saying.
Right.
We're saying there is a point where you can take control of this in such a way. And I want to talk about, I know you got a 30-day challenge, and I want to hear about your 30-day challenge. And how can people get involved? And Robin, when he says whatever the website is, put it up there in the thread so people can jump on and follow it. And listen, if you're driving, don't worry. The thread will be there. #replay. We'll put it in there several times so you can go back and click on it when you get home or in a safe place so that you can do that. So tell us about your challenge.
So the challenge actually is only 5 days.
Oh, it's only a 5-day challenge.
It's only a 5-day challenge. And here's how I came up with it. I had a client that I've got a meal planning software that my clients have access to. There's 3,000 recipes in it. And I had a client that was going live, that was doing Facebook Lives, making all of this food from my meal planner. And he was making these big amounts. I mean, it was like 2 plates of food, and he was eating all this food, and he was still losing weight. And he would take a picture of the scale, of his feet on the scale week after week, and he's showing all of this food that he's eating, and his weight's going down week after week. And I thought to myself, he's losing weight while eating more food, and he's not exercising. That's a hook. Because if I told you you can eat as much as you want and still lose weight, and that happens even if you don't exercise, you'll think that you got to be kidding me. This completely cannot be true.
Yeah.
And the truth is, it's always true. I've never had anybody do this and they don't lose weight unless they were really close to their ideal weight. If you're within 5, maybe 10 pounds of your ideal weight, then the weight loss takes more time. As you're getting close to your ideal weight, it takes a lot of work. But if you've got more than 10 pounds to lose, certainly if you've got more than 15 pounds to lose, and you eat, and I show you the science early on, and I explain to you how and why it works. So here's an example of how and why it works. The concept is called calorie density. And the reason why it works is because when you eat foods where the calorie density is low, you get full before you eat too many calories. Here's an example. And I show this in one of my presentations. A small bag of Doritos, 2.75 ounces. It fits in my hand. It's about this big. Yeah. 2.75 ounces. You turn around the back and look at how many calories is in that 2.75 ounces. 410 calories in this little bag. 410 calories. Okay. If you're going to eat 410 calories worth of cantaloupe, how much cantaloupe would you have to eat? Well, if the Doritos is 2.75 ounces, you think maybe 10 ounces, maybe 20 ounces to get to the 410. No, it's 44 ounces of cantaloupe. You literally have to eat 2.25 cantaloupe to get to the same number of calories as what's in a tiny bag of Doritos. Then that blows your mind. And so I ask people, have you ever eaten 2 cantaloupes at one time? Nobody has. Why? You get full. That's the point. When you eat foods where the calorie density is low, you get full. So my challenge allows you to try that for yourself. I will give you dozens of amazing recipes for 5 days. And I'm going to go live 5 days and I'm going to talk about so many different things. I'm going to talk about lowering blood pressure. I'm going to talk about lowering cholesterol. I'm going to talk about eating more and losing weight while actually eating more food. And so each 5 days, I'm giving you a health lesson. And I want you to weigh yourself in the beginning, eat as much as you want, weigh yourself at the end, and let's see if you can lose weight while eating more. And it always works. I have had people lose as much as 5 pounds in 5 days, never hungry. They're like, I'm always stuffed. And I lost 5 pounds. And it freaks them out. They're like, and the reason why it freaks them out is because what we try to do when we lose weight is eat the same foods that we used to eat, just cut back on the portion size. Now you're hungry. Yes. The problem with that is our existence as a species on this planet for the last 99.9% of time, food was scarce. So we've got a brain that's programmed to not starve. Okay. But food only became plentiful in the last, 1,000 years or so. I mean, you probably got a refrigerator 20 feet away from you. You got a Publix nearby. You got a Kroger nearby. Food is abundant today, but you've got this brain that's saying food is scarce. So when you cut back on the portion size, now you're hungry. That brain is saying, don't starve, don't starve, don't starve. And you can put it off for a day, maybe a week, maybe a month, but eventually it's like, just give me that cheeseburger. And then you go crazy, then you eat one. Right. And then you're like, well, I'm off it now. I may as well eat whatever I want.
That to me is yo-yo dieting right there. That's yo-yo dieting.
It is. It is.
It's and like you try and try and try. And I got to be honest, I've been hooked to that yo-yo dieting for a long time until I started working with Sean. And that is so interesting what you're saying. 5 days. Listen, you can do this for 5 days. It's just like Robin said right here. 5 days, I can do anything for 5 days. So what if you had that weight loss? What if you had that change? What if it actually affected you in a way that you understood that what he said for 5 days, because I'm in, Robin's in, we'll do the 5 day. That's going to be a fun challenge. I'll like forego meat for 5 days. I can do that with ease. You can do it. And he's going to give us recipes. I mean, come on.
I'll give you the recipes. My clients love the recipes. The food tastes amazing. I want you to be full all the time, never hungry, eat amazing food for 5 days, and watch how you too can lose weight while eating more food. And that happens even if you don't exercise. Sounds impossible, but it happens to my clients every day. It happens literally every day.
You know, Vince, I'm so happy you're here today because I got to be honest. I feel like I've been lied to since elementary school. And if you take a look at how far back we've been lied to since elementary school about all of the nutrition, it almost feels as like illness is a scam. And unfortunately, the thought of that today really hit me. Illness is a scam. It's a scam to bring others money and to keep us constantly feeding this pharmaceutical industry by purchasing. And in America, the prices for everything skyrocket.
Right.
You can go bankrupt.
That's right.
Believing the scam. You
That's
can
right.
go bankrupt. You will lose every dollar you have to this. And it's so simple to reverse it. And I can feel my disappointment in believing that delusion and uncovering it today. What is it that not uncover, unpacking it today, the way that you've presented it has been inspiring and empowering in like ways that I can't even imagine anywhere else. It's like you can be in charge of your health and you can move forward. It doesn't matter what age you are. That 97-year-old that cured her own type 2 diabetes because she moved in, it doesn't matter. You can make it to 100, and don't believe the lie. At 40, you start falling apart. That widowmaker heart attack years, that's a bunch of BS. That's more delusion that we get taught. That's why we have to have insurance and everything else. And unpacking the lies has been the most empowering part of this conversation for me today. And I am wicked grateful. My heart is tender. I'm wicked grateful for your insight today. It's just been powerful.
Thank you, Vicki. Thank you so much. I normally say that the business model of our healthcare system is not really a healthcare system. It's a sick care system.
It is.
You wait until you get sick. Then it is a fee for service business model. You pay a fee for the doctor to write your prescription or do some type of procedure, and they get paid when you go in to see them. They don't have an incentive. They don't get paid
sick.
There is no incentive for you to be healthy. Now, I'm not saying it's conspiracy. I am a fan of doctors. I think that doctors are brilliant people. I think that they mean well. I think they want to help people. My concern is the overall system that they're a part of. It eliminates the most powerful tool that a doctor could have, and that is your lifestyle. Because your chronic illnesses, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, cancers, strokes, heart attacks, those things are caused primarily by your lifestyle, and doctors don't get trained on how to recommend how to change your lifestyle in order to treat the cause. And even if they did, they don't have time to explain it. Like your doctor may have 10 minutes with you, maybe 15 minutes with you. I spend an hour and a half with my clients every week. And most doctors don't have that opportunity. So so the system is set up to maximize revenue. It's not the doctor's fault.
Yes.
It's the fee for service system. And the pharmaceutical industry that writes prescriptions thinking that is the solution when that doesn't treat the cause. It's kind of like if you whack yourself in the head with a hammer, oh, that hurts. And then you whack it again. Oh, that hurts. And then you whack it again. Oh, let me go to the doctor, get some painkillers. And then you whack it again. Well, it feels a little better. I got painkillers. And you whack it again. And you whack it 3 times a day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. And you keep whacking your head. And you keep whacking your head. And it's like, listen, your head will heal if you just stop whacking it 3 times a day. Literally, if you eat the foods that will heal your body and stop hurting your body, the body will heal. You know, I once read that a smoker, somebody can smoke for 20 years, 30 years. When they get to their 5 to 6 to 7 years without smoking, their lungs look like they've never smoked before. Yeah. Amazing. The body wants to heal itself if you give it the right conditions. Your blood pressure wants to get normal. But every time you have fish, cheese, chicken, dairy, eggs, the saturated fat gets into your bloodstream and it causes sludge blood. It literally slows down the flow of blood. Imagine your heart pumping water versus molasses in the wintertime.
Yes.
Every time that you eat any animal-based food that's loaded with saturated fat, it makes the viscosity higher. It makes the thickness of your blood go up, and that requires your heart to pump harder. So let's say you have bacon and eggs for breakfast. Now your blood flow slows down. You get that sludge blood. It takes about 4 hours, 3-4 hours for that to clean out. Now what is it? Lunchtime. Now you have a turkey and cheese sandwich with mayo on it. More saturated fat. Now your blood slows down again. You got that sludge blood. Takes about 4 hours to clean out. Now it's time for dinner. You eat the chicken, but you pull the skin off, and it's the free range. It's still loaded with saturated fat. And you're eating this food that you think is healthy, and you still have the sludge blood. Then you take this pill that tries to lower your blood pressure, but oh my goodness, you're still eating the food that causes it in the first place.
Yeah.
So as long as you keep eating foods that cause the problem, you will always have the problem. And these medications have all of these side effects. Treat the cause. Treat the cause. You know, I like to say that, you know, eat as though your life depends on it. Yes, because it does. Because it does. Eat as though your life depends on it, because it really does. And you can make a difference in your own life by giving your body the foods that will allow it to heal itself and remove the foods that are causing the problem. It's kind of like if there's a fire going on and you keep pouring gasoline on the fire. I mean, you can put water on it, but gosh, take the gasoline off, then put the water on and watch what happens to the fire.
This is such a basic, incredible logic. I want to say we're at the top of the hour, and it has been so illuminating. I see you guys talking. I just want to pop over here. Vince, I've loved this conversation. I'm so excited to start the 5-day challenge. Love your passion and energy. I do too.
Thank you.
Let's see. That's exactly what Dr. Brian Brown said. Fee for service. Give them the pill. This is the thing that we are transforming right now. Transforming means that you have to move away from this system that has been a scam and lying to us for years. No impetus to be healthy. Yes, that's right. When we have that. Vince, I have one last question. How do they get a hold of you if they want to be part of your coaching? And how can they get a hold of you? What can we do to get people in touch with you?
Yeah. So if you go to www.eatingmorechallenge.com, you can sign up for my challenge. You can find me on Facebook. Rountree does not have a D. Vince Rountree, Rountree. Thank you for spelling it correctly. Usually there's a D in it, but the correct spelling of my name is no D. So you can find me on Facebook. My email is vince@foodnotpills.com. vince@foodnotpills.com. And yeah, those are I'm on LinkedIn at Vince Rountree. And so those are the best ways to find me. I would love to work with you. This is literally my passion. And I'm driven by the fact that we go to doctors when we are ill. That is the only thing that we really know how to do, but they don't treat the cause. And that's what drives me. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, Vicki. And know that I would love to talk to and work with everyone out there that is watching. And I would love to take part in your overall health. I've seen it happen time and time again, and I would love to watch it happen to you.
You know, I'm so excited about that. Listen, you guys, if you're out there and you're thinking, I want to try this challenge, I want to try this out. Listen, if you want to work with Vince, reach out now. Don't just drive your car, go home and think, wow, that was such an empowering conversation. I'm going to eat more lettuce. Get actually in the system. Thank you, guys. This is really it right here. I love the coffee show. Thank you very much. Eatingmorechallenge.com, www.eatingmorechallenge.com. You can eat more, lose weight, and have a quality of life and a recovery that is just waiting there for you working with Vince. Vince, thank you for being on the Coffee Break Show. It has been a joy. I mean, a literal joy to have you with us. I'm going to put this up one more time right here. Eatingmorechallenge.com. Peter's already said this is an amazing challenge. We've gone over the hour. Eatingmorechallenge.com. Everybody should be in there today having a 5-day challenge of eating this way. Thank you for being on the Coffee Break Show, Vince. I really appreciate it. But nobody gets out of here without listening to the music. So I will see you tomorrow.